best place to be, I'm in the front row. Best place to be, yeah. You wanna find me, yo, I'm in the front row. Got 2 tickets on me, I'm in the front row. The best place to be, I'm in the front row. Best place to be, yeah. So what's colder than ice and even hotter than a flame? I be in the front row. The best place to be, I'm in the front row. Best place to be, yeah. You wanna find me, yo, I'm in the front row. Got 2 tickets on me, I'm in the front row. The best place to be, I'm in the front row.
Look at my journey, this is just the beginning. Rock and roll with the Fredo Show.
Then, gentlemen, ladies, we're back here live on the Fredo Show with a very special edition here on this beautiful Tuesday evening here in Los Angeles. It is January the 26th, 2021. And, you know, it is a year today from the passing of the late and the great Kobe Bryant, which, you know, we're going to have a remarkable show here today for you guys to kind of give you guys a little more, you know, just show some more love out there and throw some more positivity out there because it was just kind of not okay for me to hear a lot of negativity behind the name of Kobe Bryant today. Just hearing some people talk about him was just kind of like, really? Do you really have to say certain things like that today? And, you know, I kind of want to get those people out of the way. And I want to go ahead and bring some positivity here into the world of YouTube, into the world of Twitter and Periscope for all of our followers and subscribers here on In the Front Row. So make sure if you're watching right now, just go ahead and subscribe, hit the subscribe button, make sure you like us, and make sure you follow us. We're going to go ahead and bring you all the best action, everything. And I'm here every Sunday night, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific on the Fredo Show. And this upcoming Sunday, I have a very, very special guest as well. So go ahead and stay tuned. I will be breaking some news Thursday for you guys on what's going on here today. But I do have a very special guest with us here today. You guys might know him. You guys are all around in the front row. You guys know him very well. We got the one and the only. Should I just introduce him right now as the one and only? Danny.
One and only. What's up, Fredo? How's it going, man?
Man, everything's going good, man. Hi.
Bro.
Ooh, there it is. Yes, nice.
We gotta show love. I'm looking forward to breaking this down. This game 7, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be very exciting to go ahead and see what we can go ahead and do here and bring the people a little bit back to June 17, 2010. I mean, I cannot forget that day, and I still hate certain things that happened that day on June 17th, but that's a story for another day. But do you remember, Danny, what you were doing on June 17, 2010?
I do remember. I remember it well. I was with my family, and I wanted to make sure that I was with all my close family members and that we were all watching it together because, like, Lakers for us, I mean, it is family, and Lakers is everything. So that game 7, we were all together, and we were just hanging on every shot. I mean, that was, as we'll see in this video, it was a slugfest. It was nothing like the games we see today, the up and down, high-scoring games. There was some tough defense. It was tough sledding, and we're gonna see guys like Meta World Peace throwing bows that I don't think we see today anymore. Do we see? Do we, Fredo?
No, not as much as we used to. And of course, you know, this game was so intense. You know, it was a low-scoring game as well. Very low-scoring game here in the second half. And as we see the numbers here on the screen right now with, you know, Kobe Bryant entering the fourth quarter, shooting 5 for 20, which is not the typical Kobe Bryant that you see, especially in a clutch game like a game 7 here. But he was rebounding the ball. I'm not sure if you remember the game well, Danny, but, you know, Kobe was rebounding the ball. He was going after the ball in every opportunity he had. And of course, he only had 13 points entering the fourth quarter here. So, you know, Danny, I hope you're ready here. We're going to go ahead and take all of our audience.
Yeah, let me say one thing. Yeah.
Go ahead.
We were talking about Kobe getting a lot of hate, right? You know,
right.
Yeah, so he's going to go 4 for 24 in this game, and people still talk about that, right? But how many people have bad shooting nights in a game 7? Like, it's happened to many. As you'll see in this game, there's a lot of guys that didn't shoot well. But Kobe knew when, you know, he wasn't shooting well, he did all the little things. And I think he came into this game just, you know, this is the Celtics. This is game 7. This is the team that they lost to in 08. That, you know, Lakers Celtics, that's the big rivalry in the NBA. That's the most important game. And if you're down 0-1 to Celtics, you're not a real Laker until you beat the Celtics in the finals. And And so Kobe
Right.
had all that pressure on him, I think, and he came into this game a little tense. His shot wasn't there, but as we'll see, you know, he made the big shot at the end, and he did all the little things. He was the leader, and he deserved that MVP. I still people talking about Pau Gasol should have got that MVP.
No.
Kobe
Yeah,
Bean. Without Kobe, none of it's possible.
Right. So we're gonna go ahead and take everybody right now, immediately into fourth quarter here of Game 7 of the 2010 NBA Finals. With, of course, you know, the late Kobe Bryant, which we're gonna talk a little bit to everybody on what's gonna happen, you know, moving forward. How can we all move forward with this? You know, but coming into the fourth quarter here, Danny, we do have a very close game after the Lakers were down by more than 11 points heading into the fourth quarter. Right now, we are here underway with Pau Gasol. You know, like you were just talking about Pau. You know, and this remarkable move here by Pau as he gets the and one Big Baby Davis here, as you know, he cuts the lead to 2 points, and you know, can make it by 1 with the free throw here, Danny. You know, your time watching the Lakers this whole time, Danny. How excited were you when you heard the news that Pau Gasol was traded to the Lakers in 2008?
You know, I always think of that Stephen A. Smith video, Kwame Brown. That was the first thing I saw when the Pau Gasol trade went down. Was Stephen A. yelling, "I can't believe they got Kwame and they got Pau back," and I kind of felt the same way. It was a steal. It was one of those trades that maybe a little help that, you know, Jerry West was with the Grizzlies and the Mitch Kupchak was the Lakers. You know, maybe there's a little something going on there. But either way, you know, people forget, you know, in the beginning of this season,
And that.
in the 08, you know, there was a time where Kobe didn't want to be a Laker, right? And then when Bynum went down, you know, they needed to make a move. And that's when they made the move for Gasol, and that changed everything for the Lakers, for the franchise, for Kobe's legacy, for everything. You know, that one trade was huge.
Yeah, and it reminds me, you know, if we look now into the Anthony Davis trade, you know, of course, we didn't give up as much as, you know, we did now to gain Anthony Davis here into this squad here. But, you know, it just seems like the Lakers always make the big trade for the big players, you know, as they did a few years ago, and then they did it just a couple years ago here for Anthony Davis. But as we kind of look into here early into the fourth quarter, and as you were talking about Metta World Peace, the intensity that he brings onto the court here, you know, this game here, he was very clutch. You know, we all know what's going to happen, you know, when we're under 2 minutes here in the fourth quarter with Metta World Peace. But what did you think about the accusation of, you know, Metta World Peace and the exchange of Trevor Ariza at the time?
Now, first of all, Fredo, look at that score, 57-55 in the fourth. That's like the second quarter right now again.
Right.
You know, between the like Mavericks and I don't know, but that at the time, you know, I got to admit, I wanted Ariza. You know, Ariza was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got a similar deal in free agency, both of them. But you know, one thing that Artest brought is he brought that toughness. And you know, there's that famous story after the 08 finals. Artest came into the locker room and he consoled Kobe. Kobe's like in the shower, like, what's going on here? Ron Artest walking in. But Artest came in and he was like, you know, I'm going to be a free agent. I want to come help you win a title, you know, because people forget how much, you know, crap that Kobe was getting when everyone was saying that at that time, you know, he can't win without Shaq. Even Shaq was saying, you know, talking a lot of smack. So that was, you know, it's extremely important that they got Artest, because the first time versus the Celtics, they didn't have that toughness. And Pau Gasol that we see in this game and in this series, we didn't see in the 08 series.
No, we didn't. And, you know, it was very exciting the way he was able to step up this year, which was, you know, 2 years later after, you know, losing to the Celtics in 08, and the way he was able to step up here, and specifically in the fourth quarter, as you know, we did open up the fourth quarter with the great move by Pau Gasol. He got the and one on Big Baby Davis. And, you know, now we're looking into, you know, now with almost 10 minutes remaining here in Game 7, you know, we got, let's go ahead and, you know, talk a little bit about Rajon Rondo here. We're looking at Rondo 10 years ago, man. He helped the Lakers win a championship just a few months ago, and seeing the type of player Rondo has been, and especially with those guys, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, we knew he was like the alpha man and the alpha, out of the group of players right there. What did you think about Rondo's time here with the Lakers this past year?
Well, I gotta say the alpha on that team was KG, first of all, because that's a young Rondo we're talking about. Yeah. But I think Rondo learned a lot,
right.
From KG for sure. Rondo, I didn't think that at the time I thought we needed shooting around LeBron, but he proved me wrong in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. That playoff Rondo thing, I thought maybe that's just a gimmick. Maybe that's just what people are saying. He's too old now, but it was the truth. He came through in the finals for us. Without Rajon Rondo, I don't think Lakers win the championship. And he was extremely close with Kobe. Paparazzi would catch them at dinners and stuff. And I think they had that similar mentality. Kobe called it a Mamba mentality, and that's something definitely Rajon Rondo has as well.
Yeah, he does. Kobe and Rajon were very good friends, even towards the end, of his career here when Kobe Bryant did retire. He always seemed like he kind of wanted to play alongside Rajon Rondo. At one time he kind of, there was a lot of open stuff out there. Rondo, Kobe, they want to play together. It never happened. He did end up coming later on and playing with LeBron James, which was kind of awkward to kind of see, the Boston Celtics of that time facing the Miami Heat, the Cleveland Cavs, the LeBron teams back then. It was very impressive to go ahead and see. But right now, as we kind of give everyone a little look into Game 7 here, Lakers, it's still a very low scoring game, 57-55. You see Pau Gasol running, a little tired there. It was a long series. It was a long.
Let's talk, Fredo. They still haven't scored. It's 57-55, man. This game, I'm telling you, it's a different game back
there. It is.
This is finals basketball, though. This is Game 7 basketball right here.
The time. So it's nice to see the way the game has evolved and changed, but as we see here, Kevin Garnett getting an easy bucket finally gets on the board here. The Lakers at one point here in this game right now, you yourself, Danny, I'm not sure if you like to coach, or if you're familiar with coaching and whatnot, but as a coach yourself, like in a point like this, in a game like this, what are you telling your players? Like nobody really can score. But how do you get them to score at this moment?
I don't think there's anything you can tell these guys at this point that they don't know already. I think it's just a matter of kind of relaxing. I think that's something that we've seen LeBron James improve on a lot throughout his career, is relaxing in the big moments and try not to get tense, but getting in that mind space of this is just another game. Not focusing on, this is the Game 7. This is my legacy on the line, but focusing on this next possession. And I think that Phil Jackson was a coach that always brought that zen, that kind of cool calmness to the team, that no matter, what situation the game was in, how dire it looked, you always looked to Phil Jackson, and how do you look? He was calm. He was, sitting back and he was chilling. And that made everyone go, we got to relax too. Like, this is not that big of a deal. It's basketball. And usually they would come through and perform under Phil Jackson. I think his record speaks for itself.
Yeah, of course. We're talking about, 11 championships, 6 with the Bulls, 5 with the Lakers. Very, very, very impressive run he did have here. And, he closed out, in a good way. They did let him go. They hired Mike Brown. They got Mike D'Antoni. So the coaching search after Phil Jackson was just very difficult for them until they find, a gem in, Frank Vogel this past year. Which, Frank Vogel, I've been a big fan of Frank Vogel. I don't know if you're a big fan of Frank Vogel's coach. Are you?
Oh, yeah. I think Frank Vogel definitely deserves a lot of credit. I think a lot of times, LeBron James gets all the credit when his team does well. When his team does bad, it's all the coach's fault. But I think Frank Vogel has gotten overshadowed, the job that he's done. I think he did a fantastic job with the Pacers. I'm not sure what happened in Orlando so much, but since he's been with the Lakers, all I can say is that the players respect him. They play hard for him. And you know what? they focus on the defensive end. The offense gets all the credit, but without defense, as we see here in this Game 7 back in 2010, without defense, you're not winning a championship. And the Lakers have been playing top-tier defense under Frank Vogel.
Yes, they have it. Very impressive, as well as, they are now the number one seed, in the NBA after, the Clippers dropped one today, so, no Paul George. And apparently, did you see the breaking news on that?
Yeah. So I want to know how is it just Paul George and Kawhi getting COVID? What's going on with that?
So, apparently that's the word. Apparently they are positive, and that would maybe take them out for maybe 10 or 14 days. And who knows? So that those 10 or 14 days can be very crucial to the Clippers maybe maintaining the top position in the West. So it's going to be, pretty interesting to see, how Tyronn Lue and the Clippers, get a chance to manage that.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a tough situation that I think every team obviously is going to have to manage. And the NBA right now is not looking good overall. The way that they've handled the COVID, they coming in, and after COVID started, the NBA was a model of what to do, with their bubble system. But now this year, the players obviously didn't want to play in a bubble. You can't blame them. And it's just something that we're going to have to deal with. And it's going to be interesting to see because they still haven't announced the second half of the season schedule yet, right, Fredo? So it's going to be interesting to see, what they're going to do with there's been talk of maybe putting a pause on the league. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's going to hit every team eventually, it seems like. And it's a matter of time before it hits the Lakers, I would assume. I don't know.
Right. Hopefully, there's not that much of a pause because, that would ruin, the season again, like it did kind of last year. But right now, kind of looking into this ball game here in Game 7 between the Celtics and the Lakers back in 2010 here, we're looking at Kevin Garnett. And I kind of, something came up to my mind right now when I saw number 4. Right at the bottom of your screen right there, defending Jordan Farmar is Robinson back at the Staples Center because he literally got knocked out at the Staples Center about a month ago by Jake Paul. So I was just kind of, that brought me back to Nate Robinson getting knocked out. Did you get a chance to see him get knocked out the other day?
I did, unfortunately. I saw the highlights. I mean, there's a lot of, if you look out there, I mean, there's a lot of characters out there. Big Baby. You got a lot of guys that are on TV now. Paul Pierce, of course, and the things he says on TV. Won't get into that right now. KG, we got, Odom.
Yeah, let's not.
Of Lamar Odom. There's a lot of interesting characters, including the hero of this game, Mr. Meta World Peace. He was unbelievable.
Yes. He was. It was very crazy. And I remember I got a chance to meet Meta and just kind of tell him one thing quickly while, I got a chance to run into him at the Drew League. And I just told him, man, that Game 7 shot was amazing. He's like, yeah, I know. Like, he sounded very confident in the way he said it, but it was just, it was just crazy, man. That was a big time shot. I don't know which shot was bigger, that shot or the shot Kyrie Irving hit in 2016. I mean, both of those shots were very important at the moment of the game. But I guess, I don't know. It's a tough one to kind of go ahead and say which one was bigger, as we see Meta World Peace here hit an and one on Paul Pierce to kind of tie up the ball game here with 7:29 remaining in the fourth.
And speaking of that,
man,
shot,
what a cut there by Meta.
Speaking of that big shot in that fourth quarter, that 3 that he hit, of course, famous dagger 3 to basically end the game. The funniest part about that was the press conference afterwards. If you remember seeing that press conference, I think I'd never seen someone as happy as I saw Ron Artest Meta World Peace that night. He was saying, Kobe passed me the ball. Kobe never passed me the ball. He went through his whole mind process of what Phil Jackson must have been thinking, what I was thinking. He thinks psychologist.
That was funny. That was funny.
Playoff run. I mean, he brought a lot of entertainment to the team, a lot of fun, and everyone that follows Ron Artest knows the guy has an amazing heart. And it was great to see the redemption story of Ron Artest, because before this, Ron Artest, after the infamous Malice in the Palace, his reputation, it seemed like, it was as low as it could possibly get, and he really did a 180,
Right.
and totally rehabbed his kind of, not to this extent, but we saw that a little bit with Dwight Howard this last year on the Lakers. In Laker fans' eyes, we did not like Dwight Howard, but the way he performed in the last year, and he's continued to be, a good locker room. It seems from all indications, he's kept up that promise that he's not the same guy he was before, as far as with teammates. And I think that was the same with Artest. He got a rap as maybe he's not a great guy, but we saw as Laker fans, on his time with the Lakers, that he was a different guy. He's a guy that was a team first guy, and played hard every single night. He played hard.
Yes, he did. And right now we're looking at every single individual player right there playing their hearts out this night here on June 17, 2010. As you know, this is Kobe's 5th championship that he brings to Los Angeles back, in 2010 here. As we look at Derek Fisher as well, just these great Laker players, these great Lakers of all time. Where do you put, Derek Fisher on your list of the best Lakers of all time, Danny?
Best Lakers of all time, he's far down there, I gotta say. But
yeah,
but as
of course,
but
I guess he's a different type of player.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're gonna say best Lakers of all time, I would put Van Exel over him, just because he's a better player. He just didn't happen to play with these guys.
Yeah.
He would,
Van Exel didn't win one.
Trophy. You don't think that if you replaced Fisher with Van Exel, they would have been just as good?
I mean, I liked Van Exel. I like his style of game, but I don't know, man. I know that Van Exel kid, man. He was good. But another guy, we're looking here on the screen was another character, in Rasheed Wallace.
Let me say, no disrespect to Derek Fisher. I love Derek Fisher. Yeah, I mean, not everyone has the talent to be one of the top best Lakers of all time, right? But I got to say, Derek Fisher is one of the hardest working, one of the best leaders, one of the, I don't know what you can say. The only other guy on the Lakers, really, besides Kobe, that players respected was Derek Fisher, I would say, to the maximum extent. The only guy Kobe, I would say, I really respected on the team was Derek Fisher. And I think we saw that when, a lot of people will say it was all Paul Gasol coming, it was Bynum coming in. Now, a lot of it also, the fact that they went back to 2 titles is due to Derek Fisher returning to the team. I think that's an underrated piece. People forget, he left the team. He had a playoff run with the Utah Jazz. Luckily he came back. He had an issue with one of his with a child of his, and he came back to the Lakers, and he was that key difference in because the roster wasn't that much different from 07 to 08, but that Derek Fisher really made a huge difference in keeping Kobe, on track and believing in the team until they really went on a run and were the number 1 seed when Bynum went down and made that Gasol trade. So it's not like they weren't turning around without Gasol, without a trade happening. It's just that accelerated it to another level where they went to 2 straight or 3 straight finals, and they, of course, won 2 out of 3.
Yeah, so right now, guys, as well, for everyone watching out there live right now, you are tuned in here to a very special edition of the Fredo Show here with the, it's a year long today, man. I don't even know how we're going to go ahead and end this show. But, a year ago, it was just a great day for a lot of people in Los Angeles. And this is Kobe Bryant's final championship that he wins over the Boston Celtics here, which we are 6 minutes and 29 seconds remaining here as the Lakers trail by 3 here. But we do have another special guest here joining us in any minute now. We got Dylan Streitman. Of course, you guys all know Dylan from In the Front Row. So we're going to go ahead and be bringing in Dylan right now. As soon as Pau Gasol kicks it out to Derek Fisher. And Derek Fisher for the three and ties up the ball game. What a clutch shot here by Derek Fisher, as we were just talking about the young man here. Man, you know, shout out to Derek Fisher. Of course, also head coach of the, you know, Los Angeles Sparks. But let's go ahead and bring in Dylan Streitman. Go ahead, Danny. As we bring in Dylan right here with us.
I was just gonna say, because I felt bad about, you know, Derek Fisher. I haven't given him enough love. So I would say Derek Fisher and Robert Horry are similar in that they are both guys that maybe weren't the most talented Lakers of all time, but they hit some of the biggest shots and were two of the most clutch.
They were key role players. Yeah, they were key role players in all the championships.
Yeah. What's up, Dylan? How's it going, man?
Yeah, so Dylan, welcome.
Thank you. A late start here.
Yeah,
Dylan,
so you know, Dylan just
I'm sorry.
Where were you during this game, Dylan?
Oh God, I'm trying to remember back. I was young. It had to be 10 years ago. So I was in my teenage years. I do remember watching it though, and I remember the interesting perspective of, obviously you guys are big Lakers fans and more ambitious about rooting for the Lakers than me, being, you know, born and raised in LA. I think it's a different perspective for me, just being raised on the East Coast and then coming to LA a few years ago. But that just shows the universal impact that Kobe had, and it shows the rivalry here between the Celtics and the Lakers. Obviously was one of my teenage years that I really enjoyed to watch when they went back and forth in those few finals. And I think the universal impact is impressive. I think that the universal impact is impressive. Yeah, and I think that it's important to realize a guy from the East Coast, you know, when Kobe was playing, still loved to watch Kobe ball and still loved to watch this team as well. So I think that's very, very important.
Yes, you know, right now, guys, just, you know, another day here at Dylan. I remember, you know, a year ago from today when we were scheduled to do our In the Front Row show that we were, you know, broadcast live from Morris Media Studios. And I remember that day, you know, we called it off. I know we were like, you know, we just can't do this day. And shout out to Shireen out there. I know she's probably watching out there. But yeah, you know, we told Dylan, Danny, we told Dylan that day, we're like, we can't do it. Like we just couldn't do it. I left. So I was literally 5 minutes away from where the accident took place at the moment it happened. You know, I work right next door to Calabasas, and I was there like 5 minutes away, and right away I decided not to go to the scene. I decided to go straight to the Staples Center that day. And I got to the Staples Center like at 11 o'clock. I mean, all this happened like at 9:30 in the morning, 10 a.m. The passing of Kobe, I went straight to the Staples Center, and I stood there for like 10, 12 hours. I didn't leave till like, I think it was 11 p.m. at night. Everybody was there. Nobody was leaving. It was just a very, very sad day at LA Life about a year ago from today. You know, Danny, where were you when you heard the news? I know you said it a little earlier, but just kind of walk us down exactly about a year ago from today.
You know, it feels like this past year has been 7 years, right? Just everything that's happened since Kobe has passed away. But I was in shock, of course, like everyone else. When I heard the news, I didn't believe it. I thought, you know, TMZ, that's scary because TMZ usually does have it right. And it's not like some source. And then I kind of looked at some other sources, and then it started coming up the same. And I think that the whole mood in LA, you could see change for about a week after that day. You know, everywhere you went, the TV had Kobe Bryant on it, and people were. It affected people in a major way, I think, more than you know, a lot of athletes in a lot of other cities. Just Kobe Bryant meant a lot to this city, I think.
Yeah, Dylan, what do you remember specifically about that day? And you know how did it happen for you that day?
I remember I was actually working in the front row event at the Premium Showcase, and Shereen and I were covering high school athletes when the news broke. And I
think oh yeah, that's right. You guys were over there.
And then
that's right.
We were ABC News. When ABC News officially broke the story, you were like, "Oh wow, this isn't fake." Because at first I was like, "Please just tell me it's a hoax. Please tell me that someone wrote a wrong article because you didn't want to see it." And I remember being at the Premium Showcase around a lot of athletes. I know it was a football showcase, but still, who probably looked up to Kobe Bryant, and you could hear a pin drop. It was so quiet. There were people crying. Shereen and I were talking about, I just stood there. I didn't know what to do. And then we were obviously talking about, we canceled the show that night. We didn't know what to do. And then Fredo told me to come down to the Staples Center. So I rushed down there after the event, and my brother and I couldn't even find parking. Like, it was that crowded down in downtown near Staples Center. And just for people to pay their respects, and people, I think, just being shocked in general, because it's not like, obviously, you woke up expecting something this tragic to happen. So it was a whole bunch of emotions in one day, a whole bunch of negative emotions in one day that I remember.
Yeah, so that day, today's date, January 26th, will always be a date here in Los Angeles that people will just never forget. And talking about Kobe as well, his young daughter, Gigi, that was just the worst part out of all, losing her and seeing how talented she was on the court, and the fadeaway she was doing, just like Kobe was, and just a replica of himself, and it's what a moment, what a devastating day, it was. And gosh, sometimes you just don't know what to say when something like this goes on. But
yeah, I mean, it was really devastating. Also, I think because it was the day after the Kobe had passed LeBron, I think, in scoring, or LeBron had passed Kobe in scoring.
Right.
Yeah, so he was all over the sports news the night before, talking about LeBron, talking about Kobe and all that. And Kobe had been at the game not that long ago with Gigi, and of course she came to all the games. And you're right, he was like the going to be the Kobe of the women's game, I think. It was just the fact that she was there as well. Yeah, it took it to another level. Obviously, it's just very, very sad.
And to also think that obviously his NBA career was legendary, one of the best of all time. But what he was going to do after his NBA career, and what impact that people were forecasting that he was going to have on the women's game, obviously with Gigi coming up and her being as talented as she was at such a young age, he was going to make such an impact. And not even just the women's game, just he made so many impactful moments in everyone's life, from LA, not from LA. Obviously, it's a little harder in LA, but from all over the country, all over the world, he was a global icon. So it was something that I think people still, especially here in LA, may have not recovered from.
Yeah, it's just gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be a very tough moment. But I just want to celebrate here the life of Kobe Bryant. A year later from his passing today, all we can do is just cherish these moments that that we got from Kobe, and him bringing 5 championships to the city of Los Angeles was just incredible. Spent 20 years here with us, from 96 to 2016. And the way he ended his career, that 60-point game he had, I don't think that we will ever see another, retirement game like Kobe Bryant's game that we had. Just incredible human being, man. Just man.
Yeah, I think
he was more than just an icon.
Yeah, the thing about Kobe, I think, is that even if you weren't a basketball fan, I think a lot of people knew who Kobe was just because he was involved in so many different entertainment fields, and he was kind of like that motivational athlete that we, maybe like an Ali or someone that really people were motivated by, that whole Mamba mentality. Maybe some people thought it was cheesy, but there was others that really took it seriously, that really that I think Kobe Bryant, for as much controversy, as much ups and downs he had in his life and his career, there are people out there that really idolize Kobe before his mindset and for his work ethic. and I think he brought a lot of people a lot of joy, and a lot of people a lot of determination when they're in those down moments to think Mamba mentality. What would Kobe do? You know, Kobe would shoot the free throws even if his Achilles were torn. You know. So his impact.
That was a crazy moment too.
Yeah. So his impact will live on forever.
So right now, no, yes, it definitely will. And you know, this is just year one. I wonder how it's gonna feel year two, how it's gonna feel year three. And you know, I was talking to a lot of people about Kobe Bryant today. I mean, it was just, you know, Kobe all day today, and it just seemed like, you know, at times like it's hard to believe that this is actually true, that, you know, he's no longer here with us. At times you kind of just go about things and think that he's still here, but then you kind of have to stop and think for like, nah, he ain't here no more. And it's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah, sometimes I think you run out of words to say. Like, it's just when something like this happens, it's just, sometimes you just really don't know what to say. You don't know what to do, how to move forward, especially if someone impacted that many people, especially here in Los Angeles, and like Danny said, outside of Los Angeles, everywhere. He just had that Mamba mentality and that motivation where even if you were growing up, and some of these younger players in the league now, and some players who are even growing up with looking to get in the game now, they all idolize and respect Kobe Bryant. And he told you to put in that work, and a lot of people took that from him and were able to raise their games. And he impacted so many people that are currently in the NBA, and in the NBA in the future and the past.
Yeah, of course. His legacy will always be here. And, you know, just shout out to the 2020 Lakers squad. You know, they did it for Kobe. They won it, you know, all year long. It was for Kobe and Gigi. And, you know, they made it to the bubble in Orlando, but they brought the championship back. And, of course, they're looking, you know, to maybe repeating again this year. But right now we are now, you know, coming down the 3-minute mark here with the Lakers up by 5. 73-68 as we look at Kevin Garnett here, and you see Derek Fisher, Ray Allen fighting down below. Ray Allen goes back, you know, kicking it out here, back to Ray. Typical Ray here, typical Ray Allen. Then, you know, give it back to Ray Allen. So this is a Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen little duo there. And Rasheed Wallace, no good rebound, another big rebound by picked up by Meta at this time here. And this possession here, when you see Pau Gasol, they had nowhere to go, and boom, this happens. That was a big call. If that would have gone the other way, oh my God, we would have had a closer game. I mean, that goes the other way. Paul Pierce take the charge. They can make it a one possession game afterwards, but just by looking at Doc Rivers' face, you know, lets you know what happened afterwards.
Yeah, Lakers weren't losing this game no matter what.
Boom.
They came too far.
You know, they did.
I think a lot of people when the series was 3-2 Celtics. You know, the media talk was this is over because went in Boston. Boston took it pretty good, and then it took a Game 6 blowout from the Lakers for people to be like, oh, maybe Lakers can win Game 7. So. You know, but for the Lakers, the revenge on the Celtics was always the main thing. That 08 series really hurt because it was the Celtics. And for Kobe, his legacy, he wanted revenge. And for Gasol and his legacy, he wanted revenge against KG because he was kind of punked in that first series by KG and Kendrick Perkins down low. And another thing I don't want to hear is people saying if they would have had Kendrick Perkins, they would have won this game.
Oh, no. Well, what if we would have had Andrew Bynum in 08, you know?
Or a healthy Andrew Bynum in this game, or a healthy Ariza in the 08. I mean, there's so many things you can say like that. I mean, it's stupid. It's one game. I think the Lakers were the better team, and they deserve to win the championship.
Yeah,
I'm not biased at all.
Yeah,
I think that
this one here. Go.
Oh no, I was just saying. I think that happens almost every year. It's just like, oh, if they had this person, or if this injury didn't happen, you got to play with the cards you're dealt. And
right.
Yeah.
So Dylan,
Yeah,
do you
at the end
feel
of the day, whoever has it.
as a non-Laker fan, Dylan, do you feel like the Lakers seem to always get these calls, or is it the organization? What is it? Why is it the Lakers always seem to find a way to win the championship?
I think it's a difficult question to answer again because I'm trying to remember. It was so long ago. But I think I was so young. No, but I think that when an organization starts winning, you got to realize that people are gonna just want to see you fall. So it happens with every franchise that gets to finals or maybe wins a couple finals, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this call isn't going our way, or this team is cheating, or the calls always go towards the superstars. I think it's important to kind of take the bias and the objectiveness out of it and just realize that, I know this is hard to say as a sports fan, but the refs are doing the best they can. No ref is ever going to make 100% perfect calls. So I think that and some of these calls are so close, and it's so like the block charge thing we just watched a few minutes ago. I think some calls, you gotta realize when you're watching in live action, they don't have replay to watch, so you're literally getting that one shot. And so I think that maybe because the Lakers were winning and Kobe had them at the top of the NBA, I think that's probably why people felt that way.
Yeah, right now, guys, we're just looking into now. We're under 2 minutes here of Game 7 between the Lakers and the Celtics. As we see Pau Gasol, this move here, I've always thought it was a travel because he came back down before he let go of the ball. We're going to go ahead and look at the replay here. But, at the moment, watching this play in full speed, it looked good. It looked good. Back then they couldn't go back into replays and look it over. But as we're going to go ahead and look at the replay right now, his feet touched the floor first, and then he releases the ball, which, of course, things like this could have changed the game a different way. But, of course, it didn't in the favor of the Lakers, which was good. Right, Danny?
All I can say is this game was a slugfest, and it was mano a mano, all out. It doesn't matter if there was refs here or not. We're going to find a way to win it. Just look at Pau's face. I mean, that guy was refusing to lose.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy moment, guys. Crazy moment. But what's one of your favorite games, Dylan? What's one of your favorite games that you remember of Kobe Bryant, whether it was a game or a moment, a game-winning shot? What was one of the moments that you remember, Dylan?
Oh, I'm trying to think. He had so many. I think, obviously, his last game was something that I think all of us will always remember, how he played in his final game at Staples Center. I think that the shot against Phoenix, I think these 2 years when he was kind of leading the Lakers over the Celtics. Wow, there's so many moments to choose from. I'm trying to remember. I don't think I can answer that with specifically one moment, just because he was that good. And obviously you have the 81-point game. That's what I think I remember most from growing up watching Kobe playing Toronto and getting 81 points. I think that's probably the one I remember the most. But like I said, there's so many moments that it's hard to pick one.
No, yeah, at times it is. It is, Danny, do you have one, or is it just, too many moments of Kobe Bryant out there?
I think Dylan just said like every moment he stole all of them. I think with Kobe, for me personally, I kind of grew up just watching Kobe because I'm older. When I was 8 years old, I was Magic Johnson guy. And then, I was always a Magic Johnson guy, and then came along when I was, at 96 he came, so I was like 12 years old. Kobe Bryant came to the league, and this kid was like unbelievable. Like he had more flair and swag than any Laker I had seen. And he had that next Jordan look to him, and the way he played, the way he spoke, he modeled his game after it, and his mentality. A lot of his things he modeled after Michael Jordan, that arguably one of the greatest player, if not LeBron. We can talk about that another time. Yeah, I mean Kobe.
Got it.
For us, he was Michael Jordan for us. In LA. We didn't get that experience growing up in Chicago when Michael Jordan was coming up, maybe, but I think we got just as good an experience growing up with Kobe Bryant as our guy in LA.
Yeah, I mean, just watching Kobe here in LA for all this time, we were spoiled, man. We were spoiled. We were just, we were greedy because at any given time, you see, there's 2 minutes left on the game and you're down 6. You're not down 6, because Kobe Bryant can easily flip that game upside down and, get you the victory. He was that type of player that you just never thought you lost the game or you never thought you were out of the game. As long as you had Kobe Bryant and you had some time left on the clock, you knew you had a shot. And, man, growing up watching Kobe Bryant for, every single year, I just kind of remember, I mean, my best year of all was 2005. His first year without Shaq, I think that was my best year of Kobe Bryant. I mean, I remember not missing a game. 2005, I was in 8th grade. So I was in 8th grade. And I remember watching every single home game and game on KCAL 9, watching John Ireland and those guys out there. Oh, man, that 2005 year was one of my favorite years of Kobe Bryant that a lot of people kind of don't want to talk about, but that was a down year where he didn't have nobody there. He had Smush Parker. He had a young Sasha Vujicic, a young Andrew Bynum, a rookie Bynum. Everyone left that year. Everyone left him that year, and he stood by himself in LA.
No, I think that's why there was such a close attachment with Kobe. I think it's because after Shaq left, there was so much negative attention towards Kobe in the national media, especially, of course, after his Colorado incident. There was so much negativity and a lot of hate towards Kobe. And I think for us, just always growing up, rooting for Kobe and things, when he, it's hard to talk about it, but what he meant. But I mean, like, that attachment that we all had to Kobe, I think it's because not only we were amazed at what he did on his accomplishments, but also because at the other end there was so much negativity towards Kobe that it made us kind of ground our feet harder into like, oh no, this is our guy. Like now, like you're not gonna hate on Kobe. Yeah. We love, and I think Kobe came back and he admitted to the mistakes that he made very publicly. And it's tough when you talk about his legacy with that incident happening, but it is something that it changed the way that I think a lot of people looked at Kobe. But I think he did everything in his power to try to rehab his image. He really worked with kids. He worked in charities. He did everything he could possibly do to kind of rehab that image, and not just because he wanted to rehab an image, but I think he really wanted to make a difference, and he did. He made so much of a difference in his time on this earth, for sure.
Yes, he did. Yeah. And right now looking into the game here. Go ahead, Dylan.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I think you have players that obviously especially with the social media age now, you're going to know so many players. You're going to see if any big play happens, you're going to see it. I think the measure of greatness for him, obviously he was a scorer, but he could do other things. Like in this game, you just saw 15 rebounds on the bottom line. Like I think if you're a great player, you elevate your team like he always did at the right moments. You're there in clutch moments. You do things besides score. I know that's the debate with a lot of players in the NBA today, if they're just scorers or they're actually superstars. And you also impact off the court. I think he was starting to do that. He was the epitome of just what you wanted to be in the NBA as a high-level player, especially later in his career.
Yes, that's a great way to go ahead and put it there, Dylan. And, as we see here, Rajon Rondo hitting a clutch 3 in the corner to cut the lead to 79-81 here with 16 seconds remaining. And, of course, he brings up the ball here being guarded by Rondo. And Rondo kind of kicks it off. They review this play, and it seemed like, it did come off of Rondo, but it was so close. Like, again, these little calls here would have made a huge difference in the outcome of this game, but thankfully everything went the Laker way. Just like a lot of people hated, but it is what it is, people.
I don't know how to respond to that.
So were you rooting for the Celtics?
I don't think so. I don't think I just liked watching like these two rivals go at it over these few years. You always have, it seems like in the NBA a lot, you have two teams that always make it to the finals for a few seasons. Obviously like the Heat Spurs after this, like it was just one of those rivals, especially obviously back in the 70s and 80s. It was obviously the premier, rivalry in the NBA. But even like in the 2000s, like I think it was just fun to watch, and I think that every time they meet, it's always competitive. And I think even in today's NBA, you just hope Boston gets to the finals one of these years, just to kind of renew this. You know what I mean? And kind of watch Boston, LA in the finals again.
Yeah, you want to see that rivalry, right? You want to see that two teams that not just dislike each other but hate each other with everything, and I think we saw that in their two finals appearances, and whenever they meet the Lakers and the Celtics, they have that, which is great because there isn't that much of that rivalry left in the NBA today. I don't feel like.
No, I wouldn't say. I can't think of like two teams that really.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think now, like the past few finals. I think. I don't think it's as obviously.
I mean, rivalry-wise, you had a little bit of Kevin Durant and LeBron James, in those years they had there, but nothing too intense, But
we could get that again this year, Fredo. What do you think?
I mean, hopefully, man. It seems like that's the way it's gonna look like, but it's not sleep. The Celtics of last year, I didn't want to sleep on them, but this year it seems like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown have really stepped it up a little more. So they're still keeping an eye out on Boston. I don't think we have to be worried about two teams. We don't have to worry about the Miami Heat getting back over there, and we don't have to worry about the Milwaukee Bucks. Plain and simple, Milwaukee Bucks ain't gonna do a damn thing, and Giannis ain't the answer, plain and simple. The only two teams you might have to worry about is Boston and Philly, and of course the Nets. But Boston and Philly are the two, sleepers right there.
I don't think the Nets will get there. I know there's a celebrating Kobe show, but I don't. The mix doesn't see the chemistry kind of seems off to me. I think that you never know if Kyrie's actually going to play. So when it comes to the finals, is he actually going to play?
Right.
James Harden, I think, dribbles the ball way too much. Obviously, Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. You can't really say anything bad about him, but I don't know if the meshing is there. I would go with Boston or Philadelphia if I was betting.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now it looks like the Sixers, but it's tough for me to say the Sixers going to be in the finals. Just the way that their main guys, their two guys are Embiid and Simmons, right? I feel like if they had made that deal, and traded for Harden, Simmons for Harden, I think I would say I'd be really afraid of them in the finals. With those two together. But now I'm not concerned with the East at all. I'm only concerned with I know you're just going to say, don't worry about the Clippers, but that's really the only team I think that can match up with the Lakers is the Clippers.
Until they prove it, I don't think you have to be worried about the Clippers. I know that's a lot coming from me. But I think it's more of they need to prove it now instead of the expectations being so high. The West is deep, though. The West is a difficult conference. If you look at the Western Conference, there's not many teams, we were talking about this the other day, that you could pick and be like, oh, they're not making the playoffs. So Portland's starting to come around. Right. A lot of people have them.
But Dylan, which one of them are beating the Lakers, though? Portland?
I think the Lakers will get back, if I'm honest.
Nah.
I think the biggest challenge, I think you have to look at Portland. I think they played competitive for one game last season against the Lakers in the playoffs. But I think
one game, Dylan.
Portland.
I was trying to justify the argument. I don't know. But
Dylan, you got to give up on Portland, man. They're not being the Lakers.
I don't think they'll beat the Lakers. I'm saying they're the biggest challenge to the Lakers. I just think when
they're bigger than the Clippers. The Clippers or Portland? Who's a bigger challenge?
Are you asking Fredo?
No, I'm asking you.
I would say this year Portland. I just think the Clippers. We saw last year the epic collapse, and the expectations were so high. But can Kawhi and Paul George lead a team together? I think it's just more about proving it now. I don't think it's more about their expectations are high and they're a lock in like last year in the Western Conference. I think keep an eye out for Utah too. I think they're a dark horse. I don't think they'll get there, but Donovan Mitchell is a bad man. So I think his response to Shaq just a lot of respect coming out of Utah for me.
Yes, guys. So as we see here, the celebration begins, and Kobe Bryant wins his 5th championship here with the Lakers. As you know, he did say it well after the post game, saying, "Now I have one more than Shaq," which was a very big statement and something he kind of wanted to do. First of all, he after Shaq won his in Miami, he was talking his smack, and that's what kind of put the fire under Kobe to get back to the top and get over the hump and get over Shaq. Because the conversation was, who's better, Shaq or Kobe? Can Kobe win without Shaq? Can Shaq win without Kobe? Technically, Shaq did win without Kobe, but he had the help of Dwayne Wade, other Hall of Famers out there in Miami. Of course, he needed Pat Riley. But then Kobe got Phil Jackson back, and he won 2 in a row. They won the 16th here in 2010, as they are now the 2020 NBA champions as well. And they brought the 17th title here this past year. But just looking at the celebration, guys, seeing that this game was a big game for Kobe. And look at Meta, man. We're talking about Meta World Peace, and look at Kobe. They're throwing up the 5, against all the fans here in the city of LA, just screaming his lungs out. What a moment it was right there, man. That moment right there. He's just like the weight has been lifted off his shoulders.
That's that famous shot right there, Fredo. I think that's going to live on forever. Him standing on that scores table like Jordan used to do and putting up that 5. I don't think we're never going to forget that moment.
Yeah, and we got a chance to see little Gigi right there too. She was right there, with Vanessa, his daughter there. Just man, Lamar Odom, Powell, wow, man. That day was special, man. That day was special.
Thinking of obviously him winning without Shaq, it brings up the question. Obviously, it wasn't going to happen, but I want to know from you guys, hypothetically, if Shaq stayed, let's say for a few more seasons, 5, 6 more seasons, how many do you think they would have won?
Oh, don't say that, Dylan. And Danny, you better answer this correctly, because that's a question I've never wanted to really look into, man.
As an outsider of LA, I'm just curious.
Well, I always thought that was overblown. I always thought that maybe I'm just a Kobe fan, but following them very closely since, like I said, at 13 years old, the media did like Shaq more than Kobe at that time, and there's a reason. Shaq was more friendly, more outgoing, gregarious with the media than Kobe was, and I think that Shaq there was some legitimacy to what Kobe was saying. Shaq was not playing in the regular season hard. He had told the owner that I got injured on company time. I'm gonna heal on company time, and he would do that, and he would only really turn it on in the playoffs. And that bothered Kobe, with the mindset he had, because I think he always wanted to be the greatest player ever. He wanted to pass Jordan. And he's like, how am I going to pass Jordan with this guy next to me? He gets all the credit. And so eventually he did get his own team. And he wanted more than anything really to prove for himself, I think, that I really can take a team to a championship. I don't need Shaq. I can be the number one. And I think he needed to prove that to himself, because I think anyone that goes through winning, they've won before, and now they're like, all right, what else? I've won as the second guy. I want to have the experience as winning as the first guy. I think that's natural. I don't think that's something that he's got so much hate for. But I think we see a lot with the players today that we don't really hate them for moving around as much. I think LeBron made that acceptable, and I think this just it brings back a lot of memories watching this, and so I thank you, Fredo, for having me on, man. This has been a good blast from the past.
Yeah, man. We couldn't date, especially today with not having a Kobe special here. And shout out to Big Baby Jonathan out there in the comments, man. Thank you guys for watching over there. But yeah, man, what a remarkable day. This will always be, June 17th, and as well as January the 26th. And right now, oh man, I kind of, it's been enough emotion going through the whole day, going through, you know, this terrible loss we had. And I do want to let you guys know here as well, you know, as we are hitting 9 o'clock already. But right now, guys, you know, any last minute, you know, remarks in you know, regarding the late Kobe Bryant, guys?
Danny, you can go first.
I don't think there's anything left to be said. I think Kobe said it best. At the end, you know, he gave it everything he had. He put everything on the line, and all he had to say was "Mamba out," you know, and we knew what he meant. He was done. He gave every ounce of him to the team and to the city, and so we thank Kobe forever for that.
Yeah, I don't think there's much else to say. I think we covered a lot of it. Like you said, in these situations, sometimes it's difficult to find the perfect words. I think just thank him for being such a global icon and such, you know, growing up and getting to watch him as a young kid going through school. I think it's something I'll always remember. When this finals, you know, his other moments is something I'll always remember, and his Mamba mentality. That's really all you can say.
Yeah, man. I mean, just the last thing I want to say is just, you know, Kobe Bean Bryant out there, man, we missed you. We don't know when we will, you know, meet, but, you know, it's just been, you know, a one bad year that we left last year in 2020. What a bad year it was for everybody. But we miss you, man. And, you know, seeing Gigi on his shoulders right there. Oh man, I don't know how that feels, man. I don't even want to think about that moment when they were going down. I don't even want to think about it, but it's just on my mind, man. Just thinking about Kobe. Thinking about Kobe, man. Well, guys, just thank you guys for joining me here today on a special edition of the Fredo Show, guys. You know, yeah, man, no problem, Dylan, no problem, Danny out there, man. You know, rest in peace as well as the great Stuart Scott out there, David Stern. Too many people right there on that stage that we lost right there, man.
It's unbelievable, really. It's tough. It's crazy to think that this was 2010. You know, just how much has changed. It's like you said, it's been a tough year for everybody, and I think you know, for us, you know, in LA, starting with this Kobe's death, untimely death, and then going right into COVID. It's been a tough year, especially right now in LA County. Things are not looking too good with COVID, but hey, man, I can only go up from here, right, Fredo? 2021's got to be better, right?
Right, man.
Yeah, just stay strong.
Yes, it's going to be an incredible year this year.
Yeah. Mamba mentality.
All right, guys. Well, Mamba mentality, guys. If you guys want to do this on 3, guys, real quick. Mamba out at 3, 2, 1. Mamba out, guys.
Out.
So there it is, guys. That was the finale here of the Fredo Show Special Edition, Kobe Bryant edition, man. 2010 NBA champion, 5-time champion. You know, what a great guy. Jerry Buzz there too, man. Rest in peace, Jerry Buzz. And just again, man, Kobe Bryant, we miss you, man. That's it. We'll see you guys soon. Stay tuned this Sunday on the Fredo Show, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, only here on In the Front Row.